All right, let's do this again. This is Kevin Johnson of Leverage Consulting, and that's right, it's another Resilient Entrepreneur podcast. So, I hear people all the time, whether it's out on the street, I'm listening to other people's podcasts, I run into people, restaurants, just in so many different arenas, and I hear different ways of people saying, I'm hungry, or I want something. And I don't mean the physical, I'm hungry. I mean, I'm hungry as in I want to achieve something. I want to attain something. I want something to happen. And for some people, it may be materialistic. Some of it might be goal-driven. For the purpose of this podcast, I'm really thinking more goal-driven. So for some, it could be losing weight. For some, it could be business goals. It might be financial goals. But in the end, go back to the statement of, are you hungry? And I don't want people to tell me they're hungry. I want them to show me. So for the context of this podcast, think of it this way. Do you have the same desire of someone who could be struggling in the water and they're just, they want air really bad? Okay, I'm not going to say they're a drowning victim, but think about that for a minute. Do you want your goals as badly as someone who's experiencing a drowning wants air? There was someone else I listened to, and, it could be it could be something that, I don't know, it's just not PC, but do you seek out your goals with the same attitude and fervor that a drug addict has when they're looking for a fix? And so when I talk about how hungry are you, it's interesting to observe someone who needs a fix go to any lengths to find or get what they're after. And the question is, when it comes to the things that matter in your life, are you doing the same? So when I said, show me, let's look at your schedule. Let's look at your schedule and see over the course of, and any of you who are entrepreneurial, own your own business, anything of the sort, it may not be 40 hours. But for the context of what we're talking about, let's just say in a 40-hour week, how much time do we actually devote to the things that really matter, the things that are going to help you get your goal, the things that are actually going to make a difference in the long run? So if we said in the course of a week, we need to spend 8 hours doing something, meaning these are things where I'm specifically driving the result to get what I want. And that means I'm in charge. That means I'm in charge of my time. That means I'm in charge of, and that may sound very simplistic, what I just said. I'm in charge of my time. The question is, what distractions are pulling you away from working on your actual goal? When do we allow other people to step in, and as opposed to us actually keeping a fence or basically carving out our own time to where there are no distractions? So if we said we spent 8 solid hours, the question is, did we stay true to the 8 hours? The second is, did we actually spend that time dedicated to our objectives? So if we went through, and I said 8 hours, there are people that I know that they have to spend 16, sometimes half their week or better, just literally working towards their specific goals. But if we just settled on 8 hours, or let's just say 10 hours, let's change it up for a minute. We'll say 10 hours, 2 hours a day, to where we are specifically driving our own end result. And the next piece of this, which I somewhat alluded to already, would be distractions. And that's I think for most people, that is literally the hardest part, is eliminating the distractions. Because again, the question is, how badly do you want this fix? Because again, everything else on this earth falls away when someone wants a fix. When you think about the distractions, nothing matters. Not one thing matters when you are so hyper-focused on your objectives and your goals. And then when we get to the third piece of this, which would be the obstacles. And again, these are all things. Show me your schedule, and show me how you eliminate distractions. And the third thing is, how do we treat obstacles, because how many times through the course of a day or a week or a month do you hear the word no? Interestingly enough, and I know, I know, it's way too often. Everybody comes up with no. Every week I come up with examples of things I want to do a podcast on, but literally I would be doing the same podcast over and over and over, where people are coming up with obstacles. And one very quick example, one I was going to make a podcast out of, but I'm just going to add it to this, is my wife and I went to a home decor store in South Charlotte, and there was something there what my wife wanted. It's a unique piece. It's a repurposed piece, so it's not like it's something where you're going to get, if you ordered it online, you're going to get the exact same thing. No, it would have been a different shape, a different size, a different color, and long story short, she wanted that piece. And the home decor staff would not let us buy it. And at one point, I literally said, ma'am, I'm literally trying to give you and your store money. And ultimately, she looked at me and said, I can't sell you what's on the floor. We have to order it and you'll have to chance it. And it boggles my mind right now in today's world when everyone wants more sales. Everything is so goal driven. Everything's so financially driven. But yet on the floor every day, people are coming up with all the reasons why they don't want to facilitate business. They don't want to do more business. They don't want to, they don't want to make the customer spend, or at least even entice the customer to spend. Billions of dollars spent in advertising every year, only to ultimately on the front line tell a customer no. So when we think about obstacles, your obstacles to your goals, the question is, how often do we put up with no? Or how often do we just take no as, okay, this is the first indication of what I need to do to get what I want. So back to our example, it all boiled down to, for us, and yes, we did ultimately get the piece out of the store. We had to swear on pain of death that we would not sue the store for liability because I carried the piece out because it weighed a whopping 40 pounds. So ultimately, it took us convincing 3 managers that I could walk out with a 40-pound decoration, and we wouldn't sue them if I tripped and hurt myself. So ultimately, we just, every time they came up with no, we came up with another way that we could possibly convince them to do it. You have the same stuff that happens every week, every day. And when you think about, okay, I was dealt this obstacle, do you stop there? Or is that just the next iteration of how I'm going to get to yes? So I mentioned earlier, don't tell me you're hungry. Show me you're hungry. Show me your schedule. Show me your obstacles. And show me basically how committed you are through the three things that I mentioned. I think you and I will both come to the same conclusion as to where you are with your goals and why you are where you are. So with that said, this one was a little bit deep, but I really do feel like this is one of the ones that, especially in today's world where everything seems to be a bit disjointed because there's many things out in the world right now where people just don't know what to do. You have control over your own future. And that, quite honestly, is the most important thing for you to know. You have control over your own future. Everyone else is trying to figure out their own right now. Everyone's focused on themselves. And if you're not focused on yourself, no one's going to do it for you. So with that, my friends, that's the Resilient Entrepreneur Podcast. I will tell you the next one that's coming up is one of my hot button words. As always, if you have questions, comments, anything else that you'd love for me to cover, send me a direct message, drop it in the comments below. As always, I'd love to hear from you.